Hi, in this video I'm going to walk through the patch that I used to make the track I posted. You'll see the link up above. And what I want to show is how I've combined the Deluge with its sequencing for both MIDI and CV with drum tracks and vocal samples, along with the standard modular setup here to bring the whole track together. Let's get started. So at the heart of this patch is the Deluge. The Deluge is running both the master clock and sending that into Pam's new workout on the modular rack. It sends clock on gate 4 and it sends a run stop signal on gate 3. I use that to start and stop the clock on Pams. In addition, the Deluge is sequencing on the CV and gate 1 output the mutable Plaits, or Plaits, whichever you like. I say Plaits. We'll say Plaits for this video. The Deluge is also doing duty as a drum and vocal sampler. So I've got a drum track right here, for example, from a sample pack I downloaded. I've also got a drum kit program in. Here's an 808 kit. And here I've got vocal loops, which I downloaded from Loopmasters. So for these vocal loops are playing as if somebody was singing, because I'm not much good as a singer. First of all, the clock comes in here to Pams, and Pams is then sending that clock on its output 8 into the clock of mutable marbles. I'm going to be using marbles just to sequence rings as a bassline. Output number 1 on Pams is being used to modulate the harmonics on Plaits. So I have that divided by 2 on the clock, and it's a random sample waveform. So that's just going to modulate the harmonics, which means if I play this now, you hear that movement? You can hear a lot of movement in the sound. On output 2, I'm also doing the same thing, dividing the clock by 4, and it's a sine wave, and this sine wave is modulating the timbre, and you'll guess right, output 3, clock divided by 5, is a triangle wave, and that is modulating the morph. So by changing all of these parameters together, simply by holding one note, Plaits is changing the chord type and the chord structure, and so you're getting a much more complex tone created. The audio output from Plaits then is routed into this Befaco ABC. I'm using this as a mixer. I wanted to take both the standard out and the aux out from Plaits, and I wanted to hear them, but I wanted to just adjust the levels and not use up any channels on my Manhattan mixer over here. The standard out goes into A1, and I'm taking the aux out from Plaits into A2, adjusting the levels here, and then using this sine wave from the Vulcan modulator into the B2 channel on the ABC to just modulate in and out the amount of the aux output that you hear, because I found that it would overwhelm the standard output from Plaits, so I didn't want too much of that. The output from the mixer then goes into a VCA, so we're just doing channel 2 VCA here on this Dopefer A130 dual VCA. The VCA is there so that I can gate the output using the Deluge. Remember, the gate here is from gate 1 output. So if that is open, if the gate is open, the notes are being played, and then the sound will come through the VCA and goes into the filter over here. If I hit stop or the notes aren't being played, you don't hear any sound, so it doesn't bleed into other things. So we take the output from the VCA into mutable ripples, which is a filter. The frequency of the filter is itself being modulated. So I just have it routed here through my Mordax data, which is in an oscilloscope mode, so I can see what it is. Very slight amount of modulation going on there. And that is being modulated by this sine wave on the first LFO out of the Vulcan modulator. It goes into the channel 1 VCA on the Dopefer, and I'm just using this as an attenuator. I'm just using the knob here to attenuate down the amount of modulation. I could have made it much larger, and you'll see the waveform increases in amplitude, but I just want a very slight amount of filter movement here just to create that extra bit of movement in the track. In the background, I'm also playing a bass line from Rings. So I'm just strumming Rings using a clock trigger out of T3 on the marbles, and the pitch information is coming out of the X1 input. I've just mixed it up a little bit. The voltage range is just 2 volts, so it's a very small amount of modulation of the pitch. The audio from Rings comes out into channel 2 of my Manhattan mixer, and then into my Befaco output stage, which is going to my main mixer. Rings itself is set onto the green setting for the resonator with 2-note resonance, and I kind of keep the brightness, damping and position to fairly mid-range positions, and I modulate the position using a triangle wave out of LFO1 here on the Vulcan. The No Coast plays a plucky lead part, something it does really well, and I love the sound out of the No Coast and the way you can actually create these really plucky leads. So I have the No Coast sequenced over MIDI. So the Eurorack has been sequenced over control voltage and gate. We've got internal samples and drums, and we've got MIDI coming from the Deluge over the USB MIDI output here into my MIDI hub on channels 3 and 4. No Coast is configured to take channel 3 onto the main oscillator, and channel 4 MIDI gets sent on the CV and gate. This patch on the No Coast is one I found online and have modified. The sample and hold output goes into the slope time input. The slope is triggered using end of onset of the contour. The slope output itself is routed into the attenuverter, and the attenuverter is then used to increase or decrease the amount of that value being sent into the balance input and also into the overtone CV input as well. I hope you found this useful. This was just more as a documentary for myself. Please do leave me some comments down below. Hit like and subscribe if you'd like to get more videos. And thank you very much for watching.